Senator Ed Markey is facing a primary challenge from Joe Kennedy. It is a race that has frustrated many. Now it seems like most of the frustration is going to be on the part of Kennedy, who faced a withering assault from Ed Markey at their debate yesterday. Take a look at this.
Congressman Kennedy had a chance to sign on to Medicare for All when it was introduced. I stood with Bernie Sanders to fight for health care for everyone. Medicare for all. It took Congressman Kennedy 2 years to sign on to Medicare for all. That's not progressive leadership. Congressman Kennedy decided he was going to work for a right-wing Republican district attorney. That's not progressive leadership. Congressman Kennedy decided that he was going to vote to send military weapons to the local police in our country. That's not progressive leadership. Congressman Kennedy had a chance when he gave the State of the Union response to Donald Trump to talk about climate change. Congressman Kennedy did not mention the word climate change in his response. Congressman Kennedy is a progressive in name only. When he gets a chance to lead on Medicare for all, on climate change, on the militarization of the streets of this country, he was not a progressive leader. And when he had to make a decision as to who he was going to work for as a lawyer, he decided to work as a lawyer for a right-wing Republican. That is not the kind of progressive leadership which our country needs desperately right now.
That's just about the most fired up I've seen Ed Markey, and obviously he's facing a strong challenge. I mean, like a lot of centrists think, Ed Markey's been kind of outspoken recently, supporting legislation we don't like. Maybe we push him to the side, get Kennedy in, much more comfortable with his brand of progressivism. But that was great to watch.
Yeah, I mean, Markey has championed things like the Green New Deal, Medicare for All. He's been, perfectly fine progressive senator. But to elect Kennedy would be a shift right. I mean, there's no real reason to do that. This is purely because Kennedy has higher political aspirations. I mean, you could assume he's going to try to run for president eventually. He was, the golden boy for a few years in the Democratic Party. He did the State of the Union response in, I think, 2017 or 18. This is, someone that they're grooming for, bigger and better things. So then the Senate would be the next step up for him. But there's no real justification for it because there's no problem with Markey.
Yeah.
One thing, he didn't even get into it, but Kennedy also voted to give Trump nukes and then said it was an accident when people caught on and called him out on it.
Yes.
How do you do that? You have one job. You vote on legislation and you accidentally vote to give a maniac nuclear weapons.
The buttons are really close together, Jordan. It's like you accidentally slip.
Oh.
And then, oops, we gave a madman more nukes. Yeah, there's no... Why is he running? Why is he running against Ed Markey? Ed Markey hasn't had, some horrendous scandal or horrible votes that his constituents hate. It's just, he's in my way. This is my year. I want the seat. Why? What organic bottom-up push was there for him to assume a higher office? Who thought that? He gave the State of the Union response. It sucked. It was an opportunity before a national audience to prove what a real progressive you were. It was lame. It was from my point of view, to be fair. The people pushing him, the backers, the donors, all of that, it's exactly what they want because he seems like the sort of person that he's young. He can occasionally use a sort of language that seems progressive, and we really want to get some of those kids that like that sort of thing, But he doesn't actually challenge power in any discernible fashion. So he's the perfect, golem for them, I guess. For us, no. He's just trying to take out Ed Markey, who, by the way, we have to defend him now. It's not like Ed Markey's, some crazy out-and-out leftist or anything like that. He's good on the most important issues, and we want more people like that. But, Kennedy replacing that would just be devastating. I mean, it's going to be bad enough that to take back the Senate at all this time around, it is going to involve bringing in some more senators that are going to be obstacles to getting the sort of legislation we want passed. But he would be an actual step backwards along the way. There is no reason whatsoever to support Kennedy in this race.
Yeah. You talk about him, trotting out the vernacular and the language to kind of appeal to younger people. But let's look at that in practice. right? So in the wake of the George Floyd murder at the hands of the Minneapolis police and the Minneapolis uprising, everyone is coming out and putting out statements about racial justice and police brutality and Black Lives Matter. And how does Kennedy frame his? Just by saying, lives matter. We believe lives matter. Didn't even say all, and did not specify Black. And then he's like, just gives this hollow statement about how lives matter and we need to stand up for lives. He's avoiding the crux of the issue because he's probably afraid that, in racist Boston, people would have backlash. Well, that's not the kind of bold progressive leadership. You don't cave because you think there's racists out there, people might not like it. What Markey was saying was, Kennedy is not a bold progressive leader because he won't lead on these issues. That's a perfect example. He was waiting and drafting, like kind of hiding behind other people with this tepid statement just because he didn't want to stick his neck out. Because this isn't about progressivism to him. It's about career aspirations. This guy is a total opportunist and you should be aware.
Yeah. Very, very bold. You're in favor of lives. And think about it. Like this time right now, if you have cared about these issues for a long time, this is an opportunity for finally some progress. But if you are comfortable with the status quo, this is a situation to be managed. It is a time to just keep your head down, say just enough, and just get by it. Hope it ends soon, hope it doesn't rock the boat, and then eventually get back to ground you feel a little bit more steady on. And it is very clear. Like, you can, I don't have him here for you, but if you're watching this, take a look at what he has said about these protests. Take a look at what Ed Markey has said about these protests, and that will lay it all out for you. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.